Well, there's plenty to digest when it comes to the health care bill. The GOP working on this last week, and now we get to see what's inside. The measure cleared, or I should say the measure cleared key hurdles early on Thursday morning. This came after committees voted to advance it. The nonpartisan, though, Congressional Budget Office is expected to release its analysis of the bill next week. That will be crucial. But Thursday, the Brookings Institution estimated that 15 million Americans would lose coverage if this bill is passed in its current form. Democrats are promising an all-out block on the measure. Let's listen.
We Democrats are here today to tell our Republican friends, turn back, drop this irresponsible plan, stop this effort to repeal, and we'll work with you to improve the Affordable Care Act. But Trump Care is a loser for just about all of America unless you're in the top 1%.
The Republican bill is one of the largest transfers of wealth from working families to the richest people in our country. Robin Hood in reverse.
That's the Democratic view. Listen to what some members of the GOP's conservative wing are saying, repeating concerns that they have issues that haven't been addressed.
We want to make sure that we repeal the Affordable Care Act and replace it with something that drives down health care costs and insurance premiums, and this doesn't do it.
We campaigned on the full 100%, I say rip it out by the roots, repeal of Obamacare. And we don't get that with this bill.
And surely you both saw this on Thursday. House Speaker Paul Ryan looking more like Professor Paul Ryan when he used a slide presentation to sell the bill to reluctant lawmakers.
This is the closest we will ever get to repealing and replacing Obamacare. The time is here, the time is now. This is the moment, and this is the closest this will ever happen. It really comes down to a binary choice. We now have the ability, through the budget rules that we have in the Senate, with our three-pronged approach, to actually make good on our word.
And the president downplayed any differences within his party, tweeting, "Despite what you hear in the press, healthcare is coming along great." And on Thursday night, the White House invited lawmakers for a night of bowling at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. No word on who is winning or who is there. It's believed to be, though, an opportunity for aides to Mr. Trump to make a direct sales pitch to hesitant Republicans. I want to bring back in Meg Ansara and Rick Davis, of course, with me here in Washington. What does it tell you when you're defending your policy proposal with a PowerPoint?
Well, I don't think it's so much defending a policy proposal. None of the caucus had really seen this policy proposal other than the committee that had written it. So it's a sales job. And Ross Perot made PowerPoints famous. Everybody thought it was pretty cute at the time. It's a little retro for me. But look, I mean, he has to sell that caucus. He has, as you saw, Stephen King and others who are sort of the more conservative end of that ideological spectrum in the House on the Republican side. You know, they're not happy with what they've seen so far. Now, you don't get everything you want in a situation like this. It's always an art of compromise. But what has stalled initiatives before on the Republican side, both in the Senate and the House, is this core group of reluctant conservatives to do anything other than what they want. And the question is, what they want probably doesn't pass muster in the Senate. So this is a real tough job. It's going to be falling totally on the back of Speaker Ryan. In the old days, when Speaker Boehner was there, he couldn't get those conservatives to come along with the Republican policy prescriptions. And so very little got done. So this is a big early test. And I think part of that's going to fall on Donald Trump. As you alluded to, he's out there bowling with the bowling for dollars. In this case, it's ACA reform. And he's going to have to put the charm offensive on Capitol Hill, something he hasn't really devoted a lot of time to, but we've seen this week lunches and dinners and bowling and all kinds of activity associated with trying to get reluctant Republicans back into the fold.
And Meg, certainly the president is now doing what he can to court those more suspicious within his party of coming along on this policy proposal. Speaker Ryan even saying to his caucus, this is as good as it's going to get. This is as close as we're going to get to a full repeal and replace of Obamacare. Are you concerned that Republicans could actually sort out their differences and kill Obamacare where it sits right now? despite some of the negative publicity?
Well, from what we've seen, there's a lot of work that needs to happen to get there. Not only do you have key members of Congress coming out and critiquing the bill, calling it Obamacare light, key think tanks, like the Action and Advocacy wing of the Heritage Foundation coming against it. You also have key groups like AARP, the AMA, the Hospitals Association, very prominent stakeholders all saying that this bill is incredibly problematic and a step backwards. I'm not surprised to see Speaker Ryan, going to the PowerPoint. It's actually good to see more details coming out. Frankly, we're still waiting for the most key details, which is how many people would lose coverage under this plan, and most importantly, how much it's going to cost.
But that's part of his, I guess, sales pitch. Buy in on step 1 and we'll take care of steps 2 and 3. What do you make of this not being described as Trump care? I mean, this is the brander in chief. This is the marketer in chief. And on this proposal that he's pledging, I mean, he still talks about a big, beautiful wall along the border. He embellishes. When it comes to this, it's not Trump care. Why is that?
Well, they don't call it Trump wall, although they may once it's built. Look, I mean, Barack Obama didn't want it called Obamacare, right? I mean, I don't think you ever saw a White House aide standing in front of the press saying Obamacare. They called it the Affordable Care Act. You just heard, the minority leader in the Senate refer to it over and over as that. These are branding things. I think it's completely irrelevant. Regardless of what gets passed, it's going to be Trump's legislation, right? This is the benefit you get being president is everything that happens is on your watch. And
but what does your gut tell you then? Do you think this will pass, considering the major groups that we've heard already come out against this?
I think it's an absolute certainty that something will pass. I mean, Obamacare is broken, right? I mean, you have state after state where the premiums are going through the roof. You have in John McCain's home state of Arizona, one provider. Right? This is not what was envisioned by the original legislation. All the promises you can keep your own, doctor have been broken. So I don't think anybody, even the Democrats on Capitol Hill, don't disagree with changing the legislation. So the question is, what area do you get into where you can say this is a new piece of legislation or reform on ACA? At the end of the day, it's not going to matter. Whatever Donald Trump signs in the Oval Office that becomes the new health care law will be Trump care.
All right, I'll allow that to be the last word. Meg Ansara, a Democratic strategist, founding partner at 270 Strategies. Thanks for your time. And Rick Davis coming in, former campaign manager for Senator John McCain.